Over the weekend for Tokyo Game Show, we got tons of brand new information and gameplay on Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. And we got tons of cool little knickknacks and details that they went over, and I can't wait to share them with you. But instead of sharing every little nitty gritty detail, like most of other YouTubers have already done for you guys, I'm going to go over 17 of the most interesting facts and cool things that you can do yourself in Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. So all we really received here was about 3 10-minute gameplay segments showing off some combat, and we're going to talk about how the combat works this time around and how it's almost completely different from the first Hyrule Warriors, and how the map looks and how the characters interact with the enemies and all that great stuff. But before we get started, we have now just opened up memberships here on the channel, which means that you can choose to pick one of the 3 different levels to subscribe to, which you'll get special perks for being in said levels. But maybe you don't want to pay a lot at all. You can pick the very lowest perk, which still gives you tons of chat emojis and a special membership badge by your name, and you can even use the emojis in chat when we live stream, such as the one coming this week. Spoiler alert. Number 1, the map is extremely detailed this time around, and there's lots more open spots. Just look at this first map here and the beginning of the Hyrule Castle stage. You're right outside Hyrule Castle, and there's a giant open field for you to go explore, and it really makes it feel like Breath of the Wild. And all of the paths, they don't feel like Hyrule Warriors original, where it's just different hallways and different rooms for keeps. This time, it is actually really fleshed out. You can see different neighborhood areas, housing, and different types of developments all the way throughout the map, which is so cool. You can see shops and all kinds of tents set outside with food and marketing supplies. It's amazing. Remember Link's slow time arrows in Breath of the Wild? Well, they're back. Whether you want to put them into a combo or just shoot them plainly, you can pretty much use these things whenever you want, and it's really cool as it gives you a reticle to aim, and it really kind of feels like Linkle's bow, but even more, satisfying when you hit these shots because they absolutely blast everybody backwards. Some characters have cool traversal moves, such as Link and Impa can use their gliders, and Link can even shield surf anytime he wants to plow through enemies at a faster pace. In Daruk, he can just simply roll like every Goron can, and he can even bounce as he does so. In the original Hyrule Warriors, you collected monster parts and different pieces from the monsters you defeated, and it kind of just makes it ideal here, because in Breath of the Wild, that's exactly what you do. You collect monster parts in order to make some different types of equipment, and to kind of sell them to some people if you want some more rupees, and you can kind of do that here. You collect monster parts when you defeat enemies, and I'm sure there'll be some type of cooking mechanism because there's also food and fruit and stuff that you collect as well. You can blow up different environmental structures, such as trees that you can even cut down and blow up, or different types of bokoblin camps. And it's pretty cool that you could just blow these things up and then defeat everybody that's inside. You may already know that you can use runes in this game, but did you know that every single warrior has a different way that they use the rune? For instance, Link might just shoot up in the air with his Cryonis, which he can then glide or use his arrow, but Impa might use the Cryonis as a giant block that she can slide around the stage on. Also, certain enemies have specific runes that can break their guards. For instance, you might have to use a bomb on one or a stasis on the other, and it'll actually give you a quick image as to what to use. Now, this is very similar to Hyrule Warriors with the different item weaknesses, but this time instead of items you have runes, and this is pretty cool because it also allows you to see these different mechanics and these different animations for the different characters' rune abilities. Impa fights like a pure ninja in this game, and she's also very reminiscent of the different monks that you find in the different temples throughout the original Breath of the Wild. And actually she's very reminiscent of the one specific monk, Maz Koshia, from the DLC pack, which was the last final boss kind of the game besides Ganon. Just like Maz, she has the ability to duplicate herself into multiple different duplicates, and she also has 3 different phases with different symbols on the top left of the screen. Even though I don't necessarily know what each one does, I thought it was for the different amounts of duplicates, but that wasn't the case, as I seen 2 different emblems being used with only 2 duplicate of Impa. But I don't know what this does. It might just be different forms of the way she fights and different technical abilities, but she looks a lot of fun nevertheless. It seems like you also have 4 different item slots in this game, 3 of which being different types of rods and also food. Yes, it looks like you can eat food to heal yourself, but you also have 3 different rods: fire, ice, and electricity. Now, I don't know if rods are the only thing you could pick up in this game. I would say there would be also other types of weapons, but with that said, I don't know how that would work when Link looks like he's going to be using different weapons as well, as we have gameplay with him with a spear. Unless there's different elemental weapons that you can pick up for this, and maybe this is the whole elemental kind of item category, I don't know. But you do have different rods you can pick up, and you can use different abilities, which sends out a burst of energy within that surrounding area. You can also choose how strong you want the attack, whether it's a small radius or a big radius, and it's just really funny to see Daruk use it because he holds it like it's an insy-tinsy little thumbtack. We know that this game will also have more strategy and outside elements than just battling because we see Daruk going through something that's quite different. He's not battling any enemies, but he has to make it to the top of a mountain piece, and in order to do so, he has to use his Daruk's protection in order to guard himself from oncoming fireballs that are just completely devastating the path. And this is pretty interesting because I hope we see a lot of other things like this, like maybe there's Guardian Skywatchers or different things that are trying to hit you and you have to completely change up how you're playing the game. Small little side note, Flurry Rush does return, so if you hit a quick dash at the right time, you'll get a Flurry Rush on your opponent, which could be very helpful in the right times. Link should be able to get multiple different weapons throughout this game. We know there's giant axes and giant swords and different things like that, and even like a big old boomerang, so that might actually come into fruition within this game. We see him with a spear and with a regular sword, and we know eventually he gets the Master Sword, so it would be very interesting to see different weapons with Link, and we've seen this with Hyrule Warriors with different weapons throughout the Zelda timeline. Now, I know I already said this earlier with traversal, but I just think it's really cool that you can glide in this game, and you can do so because the map is so big and there's different levels and different heights for the terrain. And to make this even easier and cooler looking, you can use Cryonis in combination to shoot Link up in the air and then follow up with your glider in order to glide down into enemy traffic. Now let's get a little bit deeper into some of these runes. Magnesis pulls all the metal objects nearby into one giant metal heap of trash, and you can smack people with this. And like I said, different warriors have different ways of doing this, and Link just creates a giant heap of trash and runs people over with it, where Impa creates almost like a giant stick or baseball bat with the trash and swings it around. And yes, I also stated this one earlier, but Impa rides a giant Cryonis ice block as a car and just runs enemies over. It's the funniest thing ever, but it looks incredibly effective.
And now you're telling me they thought they could drive?
Now, we don't get to see stasis too much here, but we get to see it a little bit and one time with Impa, and it's pretty cool that you actually get to see stasis arrows for all of the enemies that she comes in contact with, and it actually shoots them all in that direction that you're, aiming. And I think that's pretty cool, and I don't see, too much purpose here unless there's boulders that you can do this with and knock them into enemies, but it looks pretty cool. Now, this last clip I want to share with you is with a Guardian. Now, we don't get to see the actual full boss fight, but we get to see the parry of the laser, which is a complete, drawback to Breath of the Wild and how we're going to take this thing down. It also looks like you could chop his legs off as there's 2 legs already missing, but obviously they didn't want to show us how to take this thing down and all the things that you can do because they probably want to see us do it ourselves and have that own kind of reaction and feeling of taking down our first Guardian in this game. But so far, this game has absolutely blew my mind to what I thought we were going to get. I thought we were just going to get another copy and paste of Hyrule Warriors, but with Breath of the Wild, but this looks like something that they completely made from the ground up and restarted and gave that special Breath of the Wild feel. And I cannot wait to get my hands on this game and see what other characters are going to come, play as the other champions like Revali, Urbosa, and Mipha, and even see how Zelda plays, because there's still so much information, so much more that I want to see from this game. But guys, let me know in the comments down below what you thought of the gameplay so far. Are you super excited to get your hands on this game? I cannot wait personally. And yeah, just let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And like always, I'll see you in the next one. See you guys.